In today's latest news, learn all the massive updates surrounding HUDSON-ODOI as he is set now to sign for Leverkusen on loan. Following this, we have news on Gallagher as Crystal Palace are making a late move to try and sign him on a permanent, and we have some massive news surrounding shock interest in Wilfried Zaha. Can we get this deal done before the window closes? So tons of things to break down, discuss. So many videos coming out today, so have those bell notification buttons on. Hope you guys enjoy, and getting straight into things. Let's start things off and let's discuss Callum Hudson-ODOI, as now he is set now to sign for Leverkusen on loan. Now this is interesting because there was potential for this deal to actually collapse, and that was due to the fact that we did not want to insert an option to buy deal included in the deal. Now I'm going to get on to why this is so significant, but in the end it seems like Hudson-ODOI's brother, who acts as his rep and agent, was able to mitigate a workaround and persuade Leverkusen to accept our terms. So the good news is that Hudson-ODOI will now fly into Germany today to complete his medical and get ready to sign for Leverkusen. For me, it's going to be incredibly exciting and interesting to see what he does. And because Hudson-ODOI now has made such a big loan move, potentially it might have to bring like a new series now, just giving you guys some insight per month behind how players are doing on loan. So let me know if you guys want to see something like that to get a better understanding behind how some of our talents are doing away from us for this season. But regardless, so I think there's one massive piece of information that doesn't really get discussed enough, and that's the fact that Hudson-ODOI only has 2 years left on his current deal. So by the time his loan move at Leverkusen does end, he will have 1 year left. And for me, this is where things get quite interesting, because even if he was to have a very successful loan, does this guarantee him a future place at this club? Considering we have Raheem Sterling, considering links now to Wilfried Zaha, which I'll touch upon after this new segment, I kind of think about the long-term viability of Hudson-ODOI, and the fact is he hasn't signed a new deal before leaving out on loan. So you know that by the end of his loan spell, if it is successful, he will have half of Europe trying to sign him. And for me, it becomes even harder then to persuade the player to remain if he has incredible offers from good teams. As I'm stressing, it depends on him performing, but I feel very confident by that fact. I mean, Leverkusen have Champions League football. They play that 4-2-3-1 style. He will have his left wing spot. He can link up with your Wirtzes, your Jabbies, Hojek. So many great talents click that they have. Yeah, their start of the season has been a bit indifferent, but he will definitely add and boost something to their team. But my fear naturally would be, okay, if Bayern Munich now are really assessing and monitoring what Hudson-ODOI does, he becomes even sexier to try and sign if he has 1 year left in his deal. And I'd imagine that Hudson-ODOI, knowing the fact that he's wanted to make a loan move away now for the past 2 years, he's now getting the opportunity to do so. I personally feel like he could be open to leaving us if he feels like there is no long-term position for him at the club, because realistically he can't play his best football here. He is a left winger that has playmaking ability and finishing abilities, and for most of the seasons he has been playing out of position. So how can you find that game time to really maximize your role and improve on your craft? I think it gets a bit too hard, and in the end you do kind of stagnate. He's not the only player to face something similar, not having their best positions to play in. So the fact that we've refused an option to buy and we've won, I'm really hoping that the plan isn't just to hoard talent and hope that 1 or 2 of these guys breaks through. I hope there's a plan now to really maximize their potential, because otherwise it doesn't make too much sense in my opinion. Now I get it, maybe I'm being negative, but for me, I'm trying to be realistic, because with 1 year left after a good loan move, then we have to really sell to Hudson-ODOI why you have to remain here. And it will come down to Tuchel finding a proper position for him in the team, which he really hasn't done now over the past few seasons. So let's see how this move goes. I think he will be pretty successful there, and I think personally some of that attacking mojo will come back into his game. So right now, before we get into things, let me get one big plug out of the way first. Today's video is brought to you by friends of the channel in OneFootball. The window is ending in the next few days, you guys. It's going to be a hectic end to transfer deadline day. So make sure you guys get OneFootball to stay up to date to all the latest, biggest transfers happening across Europe and in the Prem. You'd imagine that we have so many deals to get completed and done before the window does end. Already, if we go to the profile page, we can look at all the latest news that's dropping currently. We've got more deals we're looking to get done, more players who will be leaving on exits on loan as well too. We'll be extremely busy. So you guys, in the description below, download OneFootball. It's free, convenient and handy, and I guarantee you guys won't get enough of it. So now let's get back to the video and let's talk Wilfried Zaha. Now this report came out from the Evening Standard, The Guardian, and many UK media publications, and it states that we are expressing some interest now to potentially make a move for Wilfried Zaha. Now, it seems like the Aubameyang deal could potentially be cooling off. I'll speak about this in a separate video later today. I don't want to make this video too long, so it's only natural that we'd be looking towards the market to find backups in case any moves fail. And for me, knowing the fact that Wilfried Zaha only has 1 year left on his existing deal, this is the prime time to make a move for him, for a player who, in my opinion, has been one of the most underrated players now in the Premier League for a few seasons. I think now he's in his prime years at 29. I feel like his game has been increasing and improving season after season. Last season he had incredible numbers, 15 goals, 2 assists in 37 appearances, and you have to realise that he's playing for Crystal Palace. So he is the main benefactor in helping them not only secure the 3 points, but getting the goals as well too. And we know that Wilfried Zaha literally is synonymous with incredible moments. I mean, how many times has he fashioned scoring opportunities for himself? I feel like that's the type of improvisational play that we do need at times. And Zaha gets more interesting knowing the fact that, his best goal productivity comes from the left-hand side and playing as a centre forward. So I do feel that potentially, you've got Zaha in the left-hand side or in the middle. You've got Raheem Sterling on the right as well too, Kai Havertz or even Mount. That's a very interchangeable front three. And I like to see them interchange positions a lot more to keep it more fluid and to create more, dynamic moments in game. Anyway, Zaha does have a current market valuation of around £35 million. So even though he has 1 year left on his deal, it becomes more competitive and affordable to buy. But I'd imagine that you're still having to pay around 40 mil or something. Crystal Palace don't want to lose their best player. If they lose Zaha, that's going to dramatically impact their ability to get more wins and secure 3 points. And I think the fact that if we were to make a move for him, we're leaving things so late. Palace themselves are still looking to get some deals done. They're looking at Sarr for Watford, so he could be a replacement for Wilfried Zaha, knowing the fact that they can reinvest that money back into the team. And I think Sarr would be a pretty interesting option. On top of this, they are showing interest in Conor Gallagher. I'll talk about this in the final part of today's video. So could we be in a situation where we'd have to maybe scratch Palace's back for them to scratch our back? Maybe working on a deal where Conor Gallagher was to return back to Crystal Palace. Maybe Palace would feel a bit more okay with allowing Zaha to leave, because realistically I get the vibe that Zaha is going to wait for his contract to go now because he wants to play at a higher level. And I think personally a player of his ability should be playing European football now. I think that he's honed his skills to such a great level. He's good enough to play with better players now, and I think that he can actually add something to our team if we turn towards him. I mean, the Prem experience, the dribbling, the imagination as well too. I think how he moves the ball in the final third and the movement as well. I think that he's been well coached at Crystal Palace. It's a shame that he's been priced out of many moves over the years, but I think now is the perfect time where if you want to go for Wilfried Zaha, this is the time to do so. As I'm saying, realistically, if we are able to secure Wilfried Zaha, what's this really saying about HUDSON-ODOI's future? Because if he has a great loan spell at Leverkusen, there's no way he'll be as accepting now to just get any minutes. It'll be more about the quality of minutes, and you only get that quality if you're playing in your set position. So there's still a lot of things to discuss, a lot of interest resurfacing. Let's see how things play out. But you guys in the comment section, how do you feel about Zaha? Do you think he's the guy that you want to make a move for, or do you think there's other targets we should focus on instead? So right now, let's end things by discussing the latest news on Conor Gallagher. This morning, it was reported that Crystal Palace have made an opening bid of around £27 million, and they're kind of hoping that they can lure Conor Gallagher to return back to Crystal Palace because he has hopes to play for England at this winter's World Cup. So that could be the factor that possibly tempts him to move back. It has been reported that Conor Gallagher wants to remain here to fight for his sport and actually achieve his dream of, being a first team player at Chelsea Football Club. But if there were any unforeseen circumstances that could affect that, the only club that he would be open to moving to would be going back to Crystal Palace. He had an incredible relationship with Vieira. He knows his teammates very well. He had a starring role in their midfield. They have improved things even more, and I think Crystal Palace are looking a lot more attractive at this point in time. So could we cash in on Conor Gallagher? I'm not too sure. Realistically, you're only letting him go if you have a replacement in mind. We'll see what happens with Frankie de Jong. It feels like there's still a lot more to come from this deal, even though my personal hunch is he will remain at Barcelona. And other than Frankie de Jong, we're not really in the market now looking at other midfield targets. We turn our attention to Anthony Gordon. It seems like using him as a right wing back would allow Ruben to move back into midfield, but I'm quite unsure about that realistically. For me, not only do I feel like Connor won't want to return back to Crystal Palace, but I actually think that he should remain here now to fight for his spot and really prove himself that he is good enough. I think he has had a bit of an indifferent start so far to his career. I felt like he showed a bit more promise versus Leeds, but then, gave away 2 very naive yellow cards. And I think that you only make that mistake when maybe you're doubting yourself and not as confident at this point in time. Of course, it doesn't help him that he's not able to really influence inside the box by, breaking the lines more, making third man runs, and, showing that goal threat, because Conor Gallagher has goal threat inside the box. That's what he made his name on last season. So to kind of get him to play a completely different role, the Kante role in that sense, it's not going to be the most effective way to get the best out of him, knowing that he doesn't have that same physicality or that same tenacity that Kante has, because Kante is unique. So I do feel like there's a situation here where Tuchel can maybe help the player out. Maybe we revert back to a 3-5-2 at times, just allow one of the midfield players maybe break the lines and play more box to box. It just feels like if he's not going to be allowed to play his game, potentially he may suffer. Still though, he made his mistake versus Leicester City. He shouldn't beat himself up for that. I mean, we saw Koulibaly getting sent off for 2 identical fouls against Leeds, and this guy's very experienced, but you won't have people questioning his abilities. I feel like there's this cognitive dissonance between looking at like senior experienced players compared to young players, where at times, we can be way too harsh on young players, yet make a lot more excuses up for experienced ones, because we tell ourselves, well, they're old enough and they're allowed to make mistakes. But regardless, I think Connor should fight for his spot here, and he'll still learn quite a bit. But for me, he should remain here and, build that confidence. I mean, yeah, he apologized for getting the red cards. I feel like he shouldn't even really have to apologize too much, to be honest with you. It happens all the time. Obviously, Tuchel made things clear that there's high standards to maintain, and I can understand the frustration at Connor for, of course, now getting suspended and missing out on the game. But at the same time, I think put an arm around him, of course, he's not looking as confident. And I feel like with more confidence, you'll see a much better Conor Gallagher. So you guys, on that note, I'm going to end things, wrap things up, keep things moving. I'll see you guys later today with more videos. I'm in EFC. This is BlueLionsTV. Cool.